He is just an absolute imbecile. I could make a joke and say, how many stains do you think are on his couch? But no, I would never make a joke like that. That would be a joke, by the way. That's what a joke is. We all know that JD Vance says a lot of stupid things and he lies. He started the whole, dog, eating the dogs and the cats nonsense. We also know that this is the interesting part of this clip that I'm going to play for you, Leonard, because if you remember, JD Vance was the guy who called Donald Trump possibly America's next Adolf Hitler.
He did.
Listen to what JD Vance had to say yesterday, this couch imbecile. Listen to what he said yesterday about rhetoric and using the word Nazi. Listen to this.
We got to stop it. We got to condemn it. And that starts, unfortunately, at the very top of the Democratic Party. If you want to stop political violence, stop attacking our law enforcement as the Gestapo. If you want to stop political violence, stop telling your supporters that everybody who disagrees with you is a Nazi. If you want to stop political violence, look in the mirror. That's the way that we stop political violence in this country, and we've got to do it.
Interesting. He doesn't want people to use the word Nazi. But again, I go back to this fun fact dating back to 2016 with JD Vance. Maybe all these Republicans have Alzheimer's. I don't know. Maybe they're in the bunker. But yes, JD Vance did call Donald Trump possibly the next America's Hitler. But now he doesn't want this political rhetoric.
Complete
and
sellout.
Yeah. Can you? I mean,
the word sellout just comes right to my mind whenever you talk about him. And is it okay for people with Nazi T-shirts and flags to march down the street in major cities and say things like Jews won't replace us, and that's not inciting some kind of political violence?
Leonard,
are you kidding me right
Leonard,
now?
there's good people on both sides. You know that.
Yeah. That Trump says that when it's necessary, and now they're walking back his comments about hating his opponents. Did you see that?
I saw that.
They're
too.
trying to make light of it, and like it was a joke.
It's just a joke. No, of course
no
not.
joke.
Of course, it wasn't a joke. And listen, nobody talks like that at a funeral except Donald Trump. And then J.D. Vance starts making excuses for this imbecile FCC commissioner. Listen to J.D. Vance's excuse to saying that the FCC commissioner was just making a joke. Really, that's what he's saying. Have a listen to this.
We'll go ahead and do the second question.
Yeah, second question. Last year, when I was covering you on the campaign trail, you told Joe Rogan that the difference between Harris and Trump is that Trump is not trying to censor his fellow Americans. I'm wondering if you can square your fervent belief in free speech with what's going on now with Jimmy Kimmel and the FCC pressure. I'd love to hear your thoughts on both of those.
Well, look, on the free speech conversation, I'm pretty sure that Jimmy Kimmel was back on the air last night, and to the extent that he's not back on the air, it's because he's not funny and has terrible ratings. This is not a federal government problem. This is... And Kid, I want to answer your question in good faith. What people will say is, well, didn't the FCC commissioner put a tweet out that said something bad? Well, Kid, compare that, the FCC commissioner making a joke on social media. What is the government action that the Trump administration has engaged in to kick Jimmy Kimmel or anybody else off the air? Zero. What government pressure have we brought to bear to tell people that they're not allowed to speak their mind? Zero. We believe in free speech in the Trump administration. We are fighting every single day to protect it. Now compare that to the Biden administration, where we found out just yesterday that conservatives on YouTube and on a number of social media platforms were being censored. Why? Because the Biden administration picked up the phone and said, we want you to censor our political opponents. That is real government censorship, and it left the White House when Joe Biden left the White House. Now to Ukraine.
Yeah, well, first of all, that is an absolute lie. So JD, let's just backtrack for a moment. JD Vance is claiming that Brendan Carr's repeated threats on social media and interviews and were also, by the way, put in writing at Project 2025, for those of you that are unaware. It was just a joke. And it had nothing to do with Jimmy Kimmel being taken off the air. Is there anybody on the planet with an IQ over 20 that believes J.D. Vance?
J.D. Vance is living in an alternate universe because everything he said is inaccurate. And let me just say about the social media posts. So what happened during COVID was there was a lot of inaccurate information. And so the government was not trying to regulate speech. What they were doing was trying to keep the people of America from panicking, from getting the wrong information and taking things like chlorine or sunlight and you'll be okay, you'll live. So they had a responsibility, in my opinion, to make sure that the news was as accurate as it could be when it comes to people's safety. That's what it was about. It had nothing to do with censoring speech.
Yeah, and JD Vance is just full of crap, as he always is. He's a despicable human being. I hope he enjoys his couch tonight.
He's in another
Oh, he is just an absolute imbecile. I could make a joke and say, how many stains do you think are on his
potato.
couch? But no, I would never make a joke like that. That would be a joke, by the way. That's what a joke is. You don't make jokes about hating people at funerals.
No,
you
and it
dumb
was a
idiot.
direct threat by Brendan Carr. It was a direct threat. And it wasn't. He said, we could do this the easy way or the hard way. And if the Jimmy Kimmel situation doesn't get better, well, then we may have to take this. FCC may have to go a bit further.
Mm-hmm.
That's really not open for. That's objectively accurate to say that was a threat.
And if there's any rhetoric out there that can harm people or can cause violence, when J.D. Vance lied and said they're eating the cats, they're eating the dogs, and then Donald Trump reemphasized that lie. So if anybody is spreading the misinformation and hateful rhetoric, it certainly is J.D. Vance, and he's the last person who should be talking about that.